Welcome to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Steelers Extra Point Show here on KDKA. Bob Pompeani along with Chris Hoke after the worst Steelers loss since that 51-0 game to Cleveland. You might remember, if you're old enough, back in 1989. So that's where we start. Chris Hoke, everything was bad today.
Yeah.
From preparation to coaching to execution, you name it, it was bad.
It was bad, and to start off, right, you came out in the first two plays defensively, you thought the Steelers were coming out on fire, and then a 98-yard touchdown pass. Bob, from there it was downhill, then a dropped kickoff return, one thing after another. This thing could not have gotten worse, but it did every single play.
Josh Allen basically was sitting back there doing whatever he wanted. Here's an interesting thing defensively. You all know how important T.J. Watt is to this team. He's the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. But the drop-off has been so significant without him. If you look at the first game of the year, 7 sacks. Since then, 3 sacks. That's it. No more. They don't get close to the quarterback. You got to scheme something up, don't you, to get to the quarterback? And if you blitz, you don't get there. I mean, it's just
today I don't think there was one hit on the quarterback, 0 sacks, really no pressure to think of. And they've got to get pressure on the quarterback because they just don't have the talent on the back end, especially right now with the injuries, to defend forever, right? So they have to get pressure on the quarterback. Where was Alex Highsmith today? They're double-teaming Cam Heyward. The other guys got a one-on-one-on-ones, and they're not doing it, Bob, and that's the problem. When T.J. Watt's out of the game, it opens it up for everybody, but you can't have it like that. You've got to be able to go out there and still win one-on-ones without him on the field.
Yeah, linebacking play was awful again. I mean, I don't think any part of this game was acceptable, but there you go. They're 1-4, lost 4 in a row with no specific answers coming up. We have a lot coming up here on this program today. We will take your calls a little bit later. Remember, it is a G-rated show. But when we come back, we're going to hear from Mike Tomlin. We're going to hear from players. We'll give you our thoughts on where the Steelers go from here because it doesn't get any easier with Tampa Bay coming to town. There you see it, quarter by quarter. 21 points in that second quarter as Josh Allen threw for nearly 400 yards in that first half alone, and then they called off the Dogs for the most part. 38-3 your final score. Steelers have lost 4 in a row. All right, welcome back. Mike Tomlin is speaking. Let's go there live.
We understand it as professionals. We own it. It is what it is, man. We congratulate the Buffalo Bills on the quality game that they played. On the injury front, Ogunjobi's got a back that didn't allow him to play or finish. So he's got to be evaluated. Cam Sutton with his hamstring wasn't able to finish. Got a couple concussions. Levi Wallace, Freiermuth with concussions. And I'm sure you guys know by now, Steve Sims sustained an eye injury in pregame that made things testy for him from a kick return and receiving perspective in terms of some blurred vision and stuff like that. I'll pause and open it up for questions. I thought he was highly competitive, but I'm not, dissecting it in this way. As I stand here right now, we got smashed, and that's the only perspective that I have. I understand the nature of your question. It's his first start, and so you got to write a story, etc. But football is the ultimate team game. That's why we all love it so much. That's why we all respect it so much. And we got smashed as a collective today, and so I don't have a lot of individual analysis.
43, you elected to kick the field goal. What's your thought process?
We got a penalty prior to that possession down. And so 4th and long went to 4th and longer. I want to be thoughtfully aggressive, but I don't want to be stupid. When we're kicking our own butt, getting pre-snap penalties, I'm not going to do that to him or to them.
Mike, what was your assessment of your team's compete level and stick-to-itiveness with it?
I don't have a lot of questions in that regard. I got questions about the quality of our play and our, some of the positions that we put them in, but I don't question that component in my gut as I stand here. We just got smashed today.
Mike, you're missing some guys, obviously, on defense, but at the same time, when you have a performance like this overall, is this something that could, get everybody to look at who's on the field right now and who could replace them?
What is your question?
Would you be looking at replacing possible starters on defense?
Absolutely, man. You play like we played today, man. You got to be open to doing whatever's required to change the outcome of these games, and so that's a given. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by our willingness to turn over whatever stone to change the outcome of games like transpired today. That's just appropriate.
Do those stones include making coaching staff changes at this point?
Like I said, I think everyone understands where we are and what transpired today and that it is not cool. And so you can draw whatever conclusions you want to draw from it. That's just the realities of our business at this level.
Mike, the reports about TJ going to be out for a few more weeks. Can you talk about that?
TJ's on IR. When he's scheduled to come back, if it's close, we'll have more details. I'm not disputing the report, but I'm more concerned about the guys that played today, were scheduled to play today, and their readiness and what we did or did not do.
Mike, what led to some of the big play breakdowns? Was there anything you could pinpoint as?
You know, there are a myriad of things. You know, when it transpires like that, if it was one thing, you'd probably fix it. You know, some of it's playmaking by them, some of it's lack of detail by us, etc. Not good enough.
Did you have a problem with Hamlin's hit on Pickett?
I did. I had a problem that the officials didn't have a problem. Not necessarily Hamlin. I love Hamlin. He's a 4-1 tour. He plays hard. He's a good kid. I had a problem with the fact that it wasn't officiated in the way that I anticipated it being officiated.
Are you okay with that kind of response from your offensive line, given that?
I'm not getting into all of that. Give me a real question.
What about the competitive Kenny showed even at the end there? He kind of mixed it up.
Appropriate.
Mike, your run game didn't really get going. Just what was preventing that?
It was a one-dimensional game. You know, we got behind early and significantly. Got behind significantly early. So, you know.
Had Pierre reps returning kicks or punts at all?
Obviously, you know, he works, but he's a down-the-line guy. But sometimes you got to adjust based on circumstance. That's just the realities of what transpires in our business.
Like how in the secondary too, your three quarterbacks are out and your safety's out. Kind of the end there, you don't really get bodies left that wants to play.
What's the question?
That next man up has to play. I mean,
You know the answer to that. Yes.
It was obviously a big momentum swing when you had them at the 2 and they scored from 98. Do you feel like your team let that momentum impact their play going forward?
No, I don't agree with that. That'd be somewhat disrespectful to the talents and the skill and the play of Buffalo. There was a lot of ball that transpired after that play. The more we went on, that play became less significant, and just the mood and the things that were transpiring was the story. So no, I don't agree with that.
Were you happy, satisfied with the effort that your team put out today?
Satisfied with the effort? We just got smashed. Like, what are we talking about here, guys?
2 more.
Mike, you haven't been in this position very often. Is there a job one fix that starts the process?
The first thing to do is to watch the tape, man, and to assess what transpired and learn and grow from it, and then plot a course for our next opportunity. We repeat a similar process week in and week out because we just believe in that approach to what it is that we do. The challenges keep coming in the NFL, and so you better be systematic and rhythmic in terms of how you deal with it. And so although today is miserable, we won't reinvent the wheel. We'll get back to work tomorrow. We'll evaluate our performance. We'll own it. We'll learn from it. And then we'll begin the process of plotting a course for our next opportunity.
Final one.
Can it be tough for a young quarterback to be in a position where he's down big? He might have to feel like he kind of has to bring the team back by himself. And did you see any of that from Kenny today?
It's a tough spot. I agree.
All right. We'll be bringing Kenny and Camden.
All right, there you have it, Mike Tomlin. Interesting, he was asked about changes, and he didn't say no. And you wonder, Matt Canada's been on a hot seat. It should be hot if it isn't hot. Some of these play calls that you see are the same. And I wonder, you know, it's not unusual for teams to make changes. The Steelers not so much, but other teams can change. Would you expect any sort of change?
Well, basically, as he goes and he evaluates this game and looks back on it, he's going to make some tough decisions because he has to, because things aren't going well and they're trending in the wrong direction. Bob, listen, this is the worst loss in Tomlin's era as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That hits hard, and he knows that. I mean, the Steelers and Mike Tomlin are not used to being in this position. Losing 4 in a row, being 1-4, it's never been done in his era. So there's going to be some changes. There's going to be some heads knocked around a little bit to try to shake things up, and so they can find a way to get a W. I mean, next week you got Tampa coming in. They've got to find a way to win that game.
Kenny Pickett on the day, 34-52, 327, 1 interception. I thought that was his worst throw when Elon intercepted him. There was another one that could have been intercepted by Dane Jackson, but it went right through the hands of Deontay Johnson, who I thought had another bad day. Drops, just not good efforts there by Deontay Johnson. You know, there are a lot of people we could pick on here today, but I want to get your thoughts, Chris, about that. Yeah. The wide receivers have got to make plays. That went right through his hands again.
Oh, a couple times went through his hands. Went through Chase Claypool's hands a couple times, right? Again, a big play on third down. Deontay didn't get his feet in play. He couldn't get that second toe down. I mean, we've seen that happen so many times with Antonio Brown. Drop those legs and get those 2 feet in. He can't do it. And those are big plays that can keep drives going or give you points on the board to keep you in a game. And so your number one receiver and your number two receiver, your veterans, got to make plays for you, and they're not doing it right now, Bob. But those numbers for Kenny Pickett are a little deceiving, right? In the second half, they played off coverage. Right. They gave him everything underneath. I mean, the first half, he was 13 for 20 for 121 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So that's, to me, the real stat there, because that's what he was doing when he was under duress, when the game was still competitive. Second half, they put it on cruise control, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, they did. And they pretty much gave you whatever yardage you wanted in the second half, so those numbers are a little inflated, I agree. But overall, I mean, to me, Kenny Pickett's the least of their problems after this game. I mean, they have a lot of other things. But talk about Kenny Pickett, what you saw today, encouraging things, discouraging things.
There's no question about it, I was encouraged. The way that he played, his confidence, his mojo, his swagger, he goes out there and he's throwing the ball quickly. He put it on the money for the most part. Yeah, you expect throws that you saw, Bob, that you pointed out, the interception and some balls that were almost intercepted from a rookie. These guys are out there now and they're game planning. He was playing against the number one defense in the NFL, in the Buffalo Bills. They are now, they have won in 11 games. Sean McDermott and this Buffalo Bills team, in 11 games, they have won 8 and lost 3. I mean, they're really good against rookies. They know how to distract them. They know how to get them to make bad throws. So you're looking at it now. Kenny Pickett has a lot of film now to watch and learn from and be better next week.
We have a lot to talk about. Some plays right off the bat. Minkah Fitzpatrick was not in the picture when Gabe Davis got a 98-yarder, and I wonder about schematically what happened on that play. We'll talk to Chris about that. We have locker room reaction coming up. We're just getting started here until 6 o'clock on KDKA. This is the Extra Point Show. We have more coming up. 38-3 Steelers. Worst loss since 1989. They're 1-4 with Tampa coming to town next week.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
We're back with more of our Extra Point coverage. You see the quarter-by-quarter score here. Steelers, once again, no offensive touchdowns in the first quarter, none in the first half. They trailed 31-3. It could have been worse, to be honest. Stephon Diggs was open behind Levi Wallace, and Allen missed him. He had a couple of those throws today. Then you see the second half, not much activity as Buffalo was content with what they had, 38-3. Your final score. We have locker room reaction now. Minkah Fitzpatrick in the locker room following this 35-point loss.
It's football. It's 100% injury rate. No matter who's out there, we got to go out there and play at a high level and execute.
What happened today?
They made the big plays, and we didn't. It was very simple. You know what I'm saying? They had way too many big plays down the field. We don't usually do that as a secondary. Very unusual game for us. And, we take responsibility for it. We gave up big plays to a team that relies on big plays, and that's why the score was what it was.
It seemed like that second quarter is kind of what really turned his game around.
Yeah, that's when they made the big plays.
Where do you guys go from here?
Honestly, we evaluate the tape, even though we know what it is, what they did, what we didn't do, and we make the necessary adjustments. Yeah, that's it.
Is this something you think is fixable right now?
Yeah, I think we just gotta claw and fight and dig our way out of the hole that we dug. You know what I'm saying?
Were there communication issues on the back end? Did some guys running free at times?
No, there's no communication issues. It's just guys not doing their job. It wasn't necessarily communication.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Rich Walsh in the locker room for us there. That can't be a pleasant place to be after 38-3. You see it right off the bat. It started with a good play by special teams. You thought, okay, the Steelers are in position to make something happen, and then boom. That should be 98 yards. It's a touchdown, not 89, 98 to Gabriel Davis, who had 3 catches. His first 3 total, 171 yards. Then it's Boswell and Bass exchanging field goals. The rest of it was Allen. And to be honest, Chris, I lost track of how many 20-yard plays they had today. We counted up to 10, and then we got busy in here in the studio. It could have been more. You normally don't see 10 in the first half of an entire season. And then 24-yard touchdown by the rookie guy. I noticed the other thing about Buffalo, they had about 4 guys playing today who were draft class members, rookies, playing extremely well. Elam, one of those guys who made an interception in that game. You saw Cook, and how about Shakir, the wide receiver, a 5th-round pick. These are guys coming right in and playing and contributing immediately. The Steelers have not had draft picks really impact anybody. I mean, you look at Kendrick Green, can't even get on the field right now. And others have struggled as well. And Devin Bush, you know his plight. And let's talk about those linebackers. What was your take on linebackers?
It was a tough day for the linebackers. You know, you look at it, and I saw something on Twitter that said, you know, what are we going to do with Robert Spillane? And there is nobody, right? Devin Bush and Robert Spillane just aren't playing well, whether it's in the run or it's in the pass. They can't come up and really make any impact, getting behind the line of scrimmage in the run. In the passing game, they can't cover anybody. You saw some big plays given up. Devin Bush, one was a cover 2 running down the seam down the middle of the field. And the ball was just thrown perfectly, and he couldn't get the ball out. There were 3 guys there. Then the very next play, Bob, he blitzes off the edge and has no awareness. Josh Allen runs right by him, and Devin Bush has no change of direction, and he goes for a first down over a 20-plus yard run. I mean, these linebackers have got to improve him very quickly. And Myles Jack, he does a good job. He flashes here and there, but then there's some times where he doesn't get over the top. So they've got to figure out and understand where they fit, where their help is, where their leverage is in the pass game, because right now it seems like they're confused at times of where they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to do it.
5 games into this, it's execution, yes, but how much of it is coaching or lack of it? Because you don't see a lot of preparation right off the bat. Normally, that results itself in a quick start. The Steelers have really struggled early in games for the last several years. Why is that?
Well, listen, I look at this. They're pros. They're professional football players. And I've been down to the practice facility. I've been around. The coaching is still the same. It's just like it was when I was there. And they coach the same techniques. They coach the same game plan. They put in pretty much the same blitzes. Bob, these guys got to get themselves ready. That's what you do is you play 1 game a week. You get yourself ready to go out there and you play in these games. And if you're not out there and you're not executing, if you're not going out there and getting where you're supposed to be, that's on you. The coach, they know where to go, Bob. And that's one thing is coaches coach, players play.
All right, let's go. We have Kenny Pickett at the podium right now. Let's take you there live in Buffalo, New York.
Definitely quickly and get back to the drawing board here on Monday.
What did Hamlin say to you after the hit? You look like you guys were talking a little bit.
Yeah, I'm fine with D-Ham. That's one of my guys. He'll be one of my really good friends for a long time. So we're competing. It's all good.
How about at the end of the game when you went after the guy?
Yeah. I mean, I got to watch it again, but from my opinion, it felt like he went after my knee after I threw it, and that's it. Tempers flare. I don't care. I'm gonna keep playing until the last play of the game. That was it. So, all good with me.
Kenny, what was your reaction with James Daniels did after?
I didn't get a chance to see that. Listen, we all care for each other. We all want to win. We just got to focus on playing better, honestly.
The outcome obviously wasn't what you wanted, but what can you take from today that you can build upon going forward?
Yeah, like I said, I need to watch it. I mean, I'm very frustrated with the outcome. So I don't want to speak on anything until I watch it and get back to it next week.
But looking at the first drive that you guys had, you were able to move the ball down the field. Did it feel good to open up with that kind of rhythm initially?
Yeah, it felt good. I mean, I felt comfortable. Knew where to go with the football. Game wasn't moving too fast for me. Was seeing things guys were doing what they were supposed to be doing. We just weren't consistent throughout, and again, that was another red zone drive that we didn't score. So it's things that has to be a lot better. There was a lot of points left out there, and that's on us.
The talk all week was that you could come in and give this team, this offense, a spark. Do you feel like you were able to do that? And is there more than just a spark that's needed to kind of turn things around?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everyone's got to do their job, right? I mean, there's 10 other guys out there with me. I think we have to kind of look in the mirror at ourselves as players and figure out what we have to do better. There's a lot of fingers to be pointed, but when you look at yourself, I think we'll improve a lot faster that way. So it starts with myself, and I want to look at what I can improve on, and get ready to go next week.
Can you talk about the group maintaining confidence in the wake of this stretch that you're on?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one game at a time. It doesn't get easier. There's a lot of great teams that we're going to play, but right now we got to focus on next week and improving and getting better in the red zone. Just from standing here and not getting a chance to watch it, that's something I know for sure.
Mike talked about you guys being a little one-dimensional once you got behind. Did you feel like there were some things that they were able to take away once it kind of got clear that you had to pass?
Yeah, when they know you have to pass, obviously it makes it a lot tougher sledding, especially against a team like that. One of the best teams in the league. Nothing but respect for that team. But we have to go into every game, with confidence, and we know how good we can be. We just got to, keep working to get there.
Do you think, beside thinking it wasn't dirty by Hamlin or anything, do you think your slide was timely enough and right enough that should have been flagged?
I thought it was. I mean, listen, it's the game's played fast, right? I mean, I'm going full speed. He's going full speed. Things happen. It is what it is. Same with the thing at the end of the game. If I felt like he went after my knee, he may not have thought that. It's tempers flare. It's football. So it's the sport we play.
Kenny Pickett after the game talking about those 2 hits, specifically Lawson at the end. He got up and he went after him, which is a nice quality. Kenny Pickett is a competitor. We know that. We've seen that. But that play happened outside of the box where he was trying to chase him down. Yeah. So I don't know if it has the same, connotation as you would in sitting there as in the pocket when you're not moving. That's a whole different kind of game. Talk about that and also the one on DeMar Hamlin.
Listen, Bob, it's Kenny Pickett. He's a rookie. And unfortunately, if that was Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, those calls are called 100 out of 100 times.
You're talking about the one on Hamlin.
Oh, both of them. Both of those calls are called. I mean, you could put a call that was called today on Tom Brady, and what they called a roughing the passer, and it was just a little tackle and rolled over on him. Then you look at those 2 plays there against Kenny Pickett, no call. I mean, for some reason that those mature veteran quarterbacks get more protection when a quarterback is a quarterback, and those were cheap shots. When a quarterback commits to sliding, you can't come flying in. I don't care if you lead with your helmet or not. That's a cheap shot. He's giving himself up. And then for Shaq Lawson to go for his legs, I thought whenever you go for someone's legs and do that, that's a flag.
But again, it's outside the pocket.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because be consistent.
I thought there was a distinction, and I saw Gene Steratore make that distinction.
But Gene Steratore also said he would have called that.
Right.
He would have called that.
But also the Hamlin hit. That clearly is a penalty. But I also think that maybe Kenny Pickett, because of the fake slide in college, people are thinking that, and I understand why he would do it, but it is still a penalty, especially a week after.
You think those refs even know about the fake? Do you think the refs know about the fake slide?
Oh, they have to know, don't you?
No.
No, that's not why they didn't call it. They felt it was not a bad hit, which they're wrong. They missed a lot of calls. I thought the officiating stunk again today. Early in the game, there was clearly an incompletion where I think it was Deontay Johnson had his foot on the line, and they call it a completion. Yeah. And they didn't go to replay because they knew it was such a terrible call that New York got in their heads and say, why would you even bother? And they said after discussion on the field, they saved McDermott a challenge.
Absolutely.
The officiating stunk today. We have a lot more to get into. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about why the Steelers elect to kick field goals down by 100 points. What is that? I want to ask you about that. What do you think? We'll do it all when we come back. You're watching The Extra Point right here on KDKA following a 38-3 thrashing.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
Even with a 35-point loss, we have to have a number 1 Cochran player of the game, and today it's George Pickens, as it was last week. One thing about Kenny Pickett, he looks to him, and he's confident that he goes up and makes plays. He made a beautiful catch when he went up and high-pointed one early in the game. 6 receptions, 83 yards, 29 yards for the long. So he is our number 1 Cochran player of the game. But overall, when you talk about the wide receivers, a lot of them didn't get open. I was surprised they didn't go deep. I want to ask you about that in a minute. But first, we go to the locker room. Chase Claypool talking about today's 35-point loss.
No, I don't think it ever should be viewed that way. I think there should always be like the next man in mentality. Like we should always believe that the next guy coming in is going to get the job done. But we've had injuries, but we still got it. We can't use that as a crutch or anything.
I know the score dictated a lot of what you guys were able to do today, but why can't you guys get into the end zone? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, at some point in the game, we just had to go for every 4th down, and they're able to play umbrella defense when they get up like that. So it's a little harder to score when you're down so much. They can just play safe defense.
How frustrating has this been for you guys?
It's definitely frustrating, especially we got the playmakers, So, but we can't go into weeks frustrated, So you be frustrated right now and leave it Monday.
How do you have short-term memory with this one? How can you put a 38-3 game behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all experienced losses in our past, so I think we just learned from those losses. So we got to learn from this one.
How do you think Kenny did in his first? I know there's a lot to evaluate there, but
Kenny did really good. Playing one of the best defenses in the league. Seemed to lead us down the field quite a bit, and he did his thing. Didn't miss he did everything he needed to do.
But I don't know if the receivers are doing everything they need to do. If you look at the numbers, just pure and simple, they have no receiving touchdowns. I don't think there's one receiver who has a touchdown on his team, if I'm not mistaken, right, in 5 games?
No touchdowns from a receiver.
No touchdowns.
Bob,
why can't they get open more? Why did they ignore the middle of the field and deep today when you know that Micah Hyde was out, you know that Tre'Davious White is out, and you know that Jordan Porter?
There's no excuse for it. And listen, here's the reality, and here's the facts, is that receivers got to play better. He talks about having playmakers. Do they have playmakers on the field? In the first half, when the game was competitive, Bob, I don't want to look at the end of the game stats. I want to look at the stats in the first half. Claypool had 1 catch for 11 yards. I think last year, what did he have, 1 catch last week? Deontay Johnson had 2 catches no catches. This week, Deontay Johnson today had 2 catches for 16 yards when the game's competitive, with a couple drops and with not getting his feet down. They got to play better. The ball is being put there. They got to get open. Tony Romo pointed out in this game, Bob, and I'm just going to be honest, he pointed about the laziness of his routes. He said that he went vertical rather than being quarterback friendly. So Chase Claypool, to be a playmaker, has got to be better at his routes and got to be more QB friendly so he can catch more balls. Because right now, 1 catch for 11 yards in 2 weeks isn't enough for a guy at his caliber of talent.
No. Only 2 passing touchdowns so far, 1 to Freiermuth, 1 to Najee Harris, and only 7 offensive touchdowns in 5 games total for the Steelers. That's it. So let's take a look at our JP Roofing final stats of this game, and that's a deceiving number at the top. The Steelers got a lot of those in the second half when Buffalo was playing reserve players, but you look at the rest of this, 432 passing yards. Many of those yards came in the first half. That's the stunning stat of this game.
Yeah, 348 yards in the first half, Bob. But you're right. You look at this, it's totally deceiving, right? I want to look at the first half yards when it was competitive, when they were really fighting here. And at the end of the day, the Steelers have a great tape to look at and know how to improve. But the reality is they got to get guys back on the field. There's too many injuries right now. And if they are going to play with this back end, and they were playing with a guy today, number 16, Josh Jackson, I didn't even know he was on the team until they showed him getting beat for a touchdown and then for pass interference. I mean, they need to get guys healthy, or it's going to continue to unravel like this throughout the next month.
Myles Jack spoke. Rich Walsh was there in the locker room. Let's roll that right now from Buffalo.
Is out there is definitely more than capable of producing for us. So you can't blame it on injuries. All 32 teams have to deal with that. And we just gotta give the Bills credit to them.
How did this game get away from you guys in that short amount of time?
They just came out fast, man. We pinned them down early, had them deep. They made a couple plays, couple turnovers here and there, but we just didn't answer. We didn't execute. When you play a team like that, they're a big play team. So you either got to match the big players or you got to eliminate the big plays and try to make more than them. And we didn't. You got to give them credit.
Can you put your finger on the lack of pressure with Allen tonight?
That's a good question. I'll have to go back. I'll watch the film when we get on the plane. But, yeah, that's something I have to take a look at. But, yeah, I can't really speak on that.
It'd just be easy to put behind you guys. I mean, it's such a lopsided loss, and then you have to have short-term memory.
You do, but at the same time, this is one of those that you don't forget. You know what I mean? When you go up, when you travel, and you go to somebody else's house, and they throw a party like this, it's never something you forget. It's something you remember years from now. So I think a lot good can come out of this if we react to it the right way.
Along those same lines, how do you learn from this game and what you played against defensively?
Yeah, that's a Super Bowl caliber team. So for us to get on that level, we have to match the intensity. They came out, they made a lot of big plays. They set a record on us today, so it was their day, and we have to give them credit. But we got to match. We got to match the intensity. We got to match blow for blow, and we got to be better. That's it.
Yeah, that's an understatement. They definitely have to get better on all levels of this game. Special teams was no good today. I want to ask you, it's just a pet peeve of mine, just why Mike Tomlin, and he's not the only coach that kicks field goals when you're down 38-3 or 31-3 or whatever it is. Why? 4th down and 5 or whatever, go for it.
I agree with you, why. I'm trying to put my mind inside of the mind of Mike Tomlin. I believe what he's trying to do is kick a field goal to feel good, to get some momentum here, right? Because success breeds confidence. Confidence breeds, more success. And so it's kind of a cycle here. And so what you want is get 3 points there. Hopefully that can get you going in the right direction. But I'm with you, Bob. I don't understand why you kick a field goal there or even try. You missed 2. Boswell, a guy, the sure-handed guy, sure-footed guy, he missed 2 field goals in this game. And Tomlin went for it, and I think that in those moments when you're down by 28 points, you've just got to keep going and trying to find some way to move the chains or get a touchdown, because 3 points is not going to do anything for you.
One thing I loved about this game was the fact that Kenny Pickett stood up for himself, and then it was James Daniels who stood up for Kenny Pickett, and he had to take a lot from the Buffalo Bills sideline at the time. He got penalized. There was nothing on DeMar Hamlin. Let's hear from James Daniels after this game today.
I appreciate it and got back in the huddle and
made the next play call.
And late in the game, he kind of got into it too with the defender. I mean, what did you guys see out of him just in terms of that fight, even when the game is gone?
Just competitor. I mean, the game was out of hand early, and if you looked at the way how he played and how he was approaching the snap, approaching every play, you couldn't tell. So, I mean, he did a really good job of competing in a hostile environment. Of course, it's not the result we wanted, but I have to say I am proud of how he competed and handled himself and stayed composed and handled the huddle.
Obviously, the Bills are a really good team, but how much of the struggles on offense today were failure to execute by you guys versus them being a good front?
I feel personally, how I see it, I always see it's always on ourselves. It's never on. Of course, every defense in the NFL, they have high-paid players. They have good players. I look at ourselves and no matter what's the play called, it's we have the ability to block to our best ability. Receivers run routes to the best of their ability, running backs, quarterback, whatever. So I look at yeah, they were a really good team, great front. But at the end of the day, it falls on ourselves and it falls on our execution and our technique and our detail.
James, I know we all might question, them not throwing a flag there, but what you did after the play, how do you think that brings the team together or something, sticking up for your quarterback?
Yeah, he's our franchise QB, and so I'm shocked they didn't throw the flag because I do know if there's some other quarterbacks in the NFL, if that same exact situation happened, they easily would have thrown the flag. So I was just kind of upset. That there was no flag on that. And so, but I didn't even know after I hit the guy. I thought they threw the flag. It was just, I just ran over and just hit him. So I thought it was going to be offsetting penalties. I didn't know it would just be on me. So it's unfortunate. And that puts in third in forever. So.
And I know it's hard to evaluate because the score was so lopsided and you guys had to go for it a lot on fourth downs. But can you assess Kenny's play in his first start?
I was just saying how when he was. The way how he approached the huddle and approached the game, even when it was out of hand, it was I thought he still did a really good job of just being composed and getting us together. Of course it's not the result we wanted, but I thought he did a really good job of handling the environment, just staying composed and handling himself pretty well.
It's going to be easy to put behind you guys.
Yeah, that's James Daniels. I have to give him credit too because he could have lost his cool on that sideline. There were a bunch of Buffalo Bills around him. He did not swing. He did not do anything else. He tried to get back just on the field, so it could have been worse, but it should have been offsetting penalties.
I was super impressed with him right there. He laid out Hamlin there, and then what he did, he came back, and the whole sideline was wrapped around him. He ran around and he took off. He stayed within himself, didn't lose control. A lot of guys would have just started fighting, and more flags would have gone, maybe getting thrown out of the game. But I was impressed at how he kept himself under control. And listen, I've watched guys. I think of guys I play with, Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro, the Big Ragu, Ramon Foster. Those guys would have done the same exact thing that James Daniel there. You stand up for your quarterback. And he's right. I said this earlier in the show, Bob. If that was Tom Brady, if that was Aaron Rodgers, I can go on the list of more guys, that flag would have been thrown 10 out of 10 times.
No question about that. It should have been thrown right there, and it wasn't. As I said, I thought the officials had a bad day. Steeler defensive line had a bad day, too. Again, virtually no pressure. 7 sacks week 1. Since then, 3 total. Cam Heyward is now at the podium.
Owning it. We played bad. Bad's an understatement. Personally, I take this. My play, my leadership, not enough. And I think every man's got to do to get better, and I got to take that.
And I think you noticed defensively that are becoming recurrent issues and problems.
Not playing well. The run, big plays were very key today. Not winning one-on-one matchups, and just tough. As a defense, there should be cohesion. There should be play after play, defender, everybody doing their job, and then defender, when called upon, making a play. And we didn't do that today.
Came to that point which is allowing that.
A myriad of things. Execution, not tackling, not using basic things that we've practiced from training camp, whether it's staying inside or having a gap or using your hands. It's all these things included, and that ass kicking we just took proves that. You know, if there's anybody who can say they had a great game, man, you're not searching hard enough. We all got to own this. You know, from top to bottom, there's, you know, it's a dark day, and you know, when you lose like that, you can't go running from it.
Yeah, you guys, the defense, making some plays behind the game. Interception in the end zone, fumble at the goal line, block field goal, and then 11-play sequence. They scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was quick as hell. Quick as hell. You know, you look at the time of possession. We had the time of possession, but it didn't mean anything because we couldn't get off the field. You know, we got off the field, but it was in a big play. And you know, we talk about those weighty downs and critical downs, and we didn't win any of them. Yeah, we got off a couple times, but man, the floodgates were open when they did make those big plays. Not enough times where we either tackled and lined it up again. It was either, you know, they scored or next play they move on, score again. And as a defense, you got to be accountable. We got to get off the field. To start the game, we were, you know, 3rd and long, and we didn't capitalize on that. Instead, we gave up a 98-yard pass, and that is a kick in the face, to say the least. That can't happen as a defense. And if anybody's happy with that, you know, check yourself.
And what is it about the Bills?
He's right about that. Josh Allen, 20 of 31, 424, 4 touchdowns, most of that in the first half. But I got to ask you about the play you just said, that 98-yarder kick in the mouth or face. First of all, if Minkah Fitzpatrick is blitzing, Trey Norwood has to know he's the last man back there.
He's a deep center fielder. Just bad play, but didn't have his eyes in the right place. And that's been part of the problem with this defense, is not having their eyes where they need to be, not reading their keys. And right there, Trey Norwood, he's deep center field. He cannot let Gabriel Davis run behind him, and you have Levi Wallace trailing. I mean, right there, just bad technique, bad eyes, and you give up a 98-yard touchdown pass. That right there, Bob, when you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown to start a game, or you give up a pick 6 to start a game, or a 98-yard touchdown throw, those things, man, it's like getting sucker punched, and really you're just sitting there stymied, and you're sitting there bewildered, and that's what happened to the Steelers. I think it just got off to a bad start, because then James Pierre drops that kickoff return. Steelers defense came on and did a good job of stopping that, and there was a missed field goal there, or the field goal. But to be honest with you, I look at this game, Bob, and the Steelers just from the very beginning got punched in the mouth and could never recover.
The second Gabriel Davis touchdown was a beautifully thrown pass by Allen, but also a good catch with one hand. Minkah Fitzpatrick was there, and he just couldn't wrestle that ball away. And there you take a look at the still picture. Look, the coverage is good.
Perfect. And that's many times in this game and in previous games in the weeks prior, the Steelers defenders were in good positions. They're not making the plays. And again, right here, Gabriel Davis pulls the ball in, and Minkah has his hands around the ball. You make that catch. Minkah brings it in, and that's the interception. It's 10-3. The Steelers are down with the ball. And think about it, Bob. It was 38-3 in this game. The Bills threw 2 interceptions in the red zone, right? In the end zone. And I watched a fumble and an interception thrown. Levi Wallace intercepted that one. And they still lost 38-3. And that's tough to swallow.
It could have been much worse than that. Absolutely that. Steelers lose this game by 35 points. And you take a look at some of those big plays. I counted, and again, pardon me, this is unofficial because of my scribble. I can't read it, but I think 11 plays of over 20 yards today for Buffalo. Seriously, how many games would it take to give up 11 20-yard plays?
Half the season.
Half the season.
We're talking on here in seasons past. Right. In games where they give up 2 or 3 plays over 25 yards, and we're going, if you just took those away, the Steelers would have won this game. 11 plays over 20 yards, that's unheard of, and that's uncharacteristic of a Steelers defense.
Got a lot of work to do, and they have Tampa Bay coming in, then road games at Miami, at Philadelphia before a bye. We'll talk about that as we continue. Soon we'll take your phone calls on this. We have more interviews from the locker room coming up next as you continue to watch us live here on KDKA. It is the Extra Point Show. Steelers lose 38-3 to Buffalo to fall at 1-4.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
Welcome back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you here in studio. NFL scoreboard, the Browns missed a 50-some yard field goal attempt at the end. They could have won the game, but they lose to the Chargers in Cleveland, so they're 2-3. Miami gets walloped by the Jets, who won here last week. So the Jets, Robert Saleh, his team playing well, 40-17, gaining confidence. In Tampa Bay, we talked a lot about that non-call on Kenny Pickett with Damar Hamlin. There was a call. Tom Brady got tackled legally. They called a penalty on Atlanta, even though it was the wrong call. They called it because it was Tom Brady. It played a role in the Falcons losing at Tampa 21-15. So the updated standings here, the Ravens and Bengals will play tonight. So somebody's going to be 3-2, or maybe not. Maybe they're all going to be 2-1 the way this NFL season goes. The Browns are 2-3. The Steelers right now own the number 1 pick in next year's draft. I know it's 5 weeks, but by virtue of where they are, and if you look at some of the numbers in tiebreak, they would, I think, have the number 1 overall pick. Anyway,
so painful.
It is painful, but that's what it is right now, and we'll see what happens in the next 3 weeks. They're going to be very important without T.J. Watt. Let's go into the locker room. Chris Wormley now speaking in the post-game interview session.
It's a blow to the team, but the people that come into the game have to step up and make plays.
What was Josh Allen able to do there? I mean, it just seemed like a couple big plays, like really turned this thing around.
Yeah, they were able, especially Josh Allen and the receivers were able to make those contested one-on-one catches. We saw that on the third play of the game. You saw it, time after time. They were able to make those contested plays that could go 50-50 either way. And we as a defensive line, just speaking on that, we got to be better getting pressure on them.
Why do you think there was a lack of pressure there today? Is it what Allen's able to do back there?
Yeah, I think they have a great scheme, but obviously we thought we were prepared to be able to pressure him. But as the game showed, we couldn't get to him.
Is this fixable? Where do you guys go from here?
Yeah, anything's fixable. I think we have to continue to keep working, continue to play for one another, and continue to be the defense that we know that we can be. It's just like I said, those those handful of plays that were contested one-on-ones and not being able to get pressure on the quarterback, I think really is going to show what this game tape was.
Not a good day for the Steelers' defensive line. Only Cam Heyward and the man you're about to hear from, the rookie, DeMarvin Leal, showed up on the stat sheet. Nobody else made a play. Ogunjobi got out with an injury, so he was out of the game earlier. And not sure with the extent of his injury, but DeMarvin Leal had 2 batted passes today, and you noticed him. Let's hear from him after the game.
Simple as Coach said, just they was able to smash the run, be able to win the one-on-one battles, just being successful on the defensive side as well. So just overall good game by those guys.
It seemed like you had a little bit of a difficult time getting to Allen. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of pressure on the guys. The sack. What were they able to do, and what was Josh able to do to avoid sacks?
Definitely just, he's a gunslinger. He can throw that ball, and he's a true believer in his arm, so he's able to get the ball out quick and be able to move around the pocket. He's very mobile, and, just being able to do everything just to make us as a defensive line have a hard job getting to him.
Marvin, sometimes do too many injuries catch up to a team at one time?
I wouldn't say that. It's always the next man up mentality, and I feel like, I don't know, I know a lot of guys, they're ready for their opportunity, and I was ready for my opportunity. I'm sure a lot of them are, so injuries isn't anything to us.
All right, that's DeMarvin Leal. He looked good. But you're right. Not too many other guys look good today.
I'm really liking DeMarvin Leal. I really like his energy. I like his technique. And he's very athletic for a big guy. And you watch him, they're playing him at the end spot in place of Malik Reed at times because he's been able to put more pressure on the quarterback. He's been able to make more impact. And what I like is the way he's playing in the run game. He is really pushing that edge back and not giving that round edge at times that Malik Reed gives. So you got to give a lot of credit to the young fella.
Yeah, he's played well. They need more guys to step up and do better than they've done so far in the first 5 games. All right, let's take a look at the injury report because you heard Mike Tomlin. There are some names on it. Cam Sutton left with a hamstring. Larry Ogunjobi with a back injury. Don't know the extent of that. He did not return. Pat Freiermuth, you saw the hit. He got sandwiched both sides of the helmet. He got a concussion, and Levi Wallace also with a concussion in this game. Now, we know the NFL and its Players Association want to crack down on this. Because of that, Tua Tagovailoa did not play today for Miami, and they lost to the Jets. But who knows? We also know that the Steelers had Terrell Edmonds in concussion protocol, and he did not make this game today, so he was an inactive. Yeah. And looking next week, Witherspoon's been out, and that could be another week potentially. And without these guys, you know, Tom Brady's going to be the guy throwing the ball down the field.
And what you're going to see, Bob, is you're 1-4, 1-5, 1-6. Hopefully the Steelers win some games. Is that you're going to hold guys out because it's not worth risking a guy to get more injured because you're 1-4, you're 1-5, and when you're in big games and you're 5-1, you're pushing these guys back and you're willing to risk it. So you're going to see some of these guys, their injuries linger a little longer.
Now it's time to take a look ahead. It's the Ford Road Ahead, brought to you by your neighborhood Ford store. So next week it is Tampa at 1 p.m. That's here in Pittsburgh, and then back-to-back road games. The 8:20 game is a Sunday night game in Miami against the Dolphins. Without Tua today, they lost to the Jets. As I said, Philadelphia is undefeated, the only undefeated team left. They're leading at last count. That'll be a 1 p.m. game at Philadelphia on KDKA. So a bye week comes after that, and then the schedule gets a little easier. Although, if you're those teams looking at the Steelers, you may think, well, our schedule's getting a little easier too because the Steelers, they got to improve the way they're playing or else they're going to be looked at that way.
Right now, you can't worry about who you're playing. You got to worry about yourself. You got to worry about what you're doing. And my impression is, Bob, that there are guys on the field right now who think they're playing a little bit better than they really are. And they've got to really check themselves in this film and check what they're doing, their effort and their execution. Because right now they're not executing. And today it showed the effort wasn't there as well.
Yeah, there's not much good out of this game. As I said, Pickens had a good game. I thought Kenny Pickett overall did what he had to do. First start in the NFL, not an easy situation against that defense, even without Tremaine Edwards and three of the guys in the secondary. But, you know, he did what he had to do. To me, Kenny Pickett is the last of their concerns at this point. They have a lot of other things to worry at this point moving into that game.
When you have a rookie starting his first game, I think back to Ben Roethlisberger. I was on the team when Ben had his first start. Your defense has got to play lights out. Your defense can't go out there and give up 38 points when you have a young quarterback working his way in. And today it just didn't work. Back then, Ben, when he came in, we had a number one defense in the NFL. We had one of the tops. And so that's what the Steelers need to do in order to keep them in these games with a rookie quarterback. They've got to come out and they've got to execute and keep big plays off the scoreboard and points off the board to a minimum, or they're going to have a tough time winning any more games.
Yeah, there's no question about that, and they have to get better performances. We didn't even talk about special teams. One of the guys who's kind of frustrating to watch is their punter, Presley Harvin. He banged a 69-yarder, which was downed by James Pierre at the 1-yard line, I believe it was, and then, you know, after that, a 26-yarder, which contributes to field position and it turns everything around. Why has he been so inconsistent in the punt game?
Inconsistent? I don't think he's been consistent. I think he had one or two punts this year that have been good, but other than that, he's struggled, and especially when he needs to make good punts, he's struggled to really, when the pressure's on, he's struggled to make those good punts to flip the field consistently. And so they've got to look at that position because ever since last year as a rookie, and then now he has struggled to really get his footing as a punter in the NFL. And
Chris Boswell missed 2 field goals. They had some lapses in tackling on special teams. Just a not good day at the office all the way around. It results in a 38-3 loss. Steelers 1-4 now, trying to come home and change things around against a good Tampa Bay defense. That's next Sunday. So that'll wrap it up for our program here. We have your phone calls coming up. It's a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Again, it's a G-rated show. Just remember that. Call us with your thoughts.
Bring on the phone calls.
Bring on the phone calls. They're coming up next. I'm sure people are waiting to talk. 38-3 your final score. Steelers have to go back to the drawing board in anticipation of a visit from Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Thank you for joining us here. We'll be back with that program right after this on KDKA TV.